Welcome everyone to Edureka YouTube channel. My name is Saurabh and today I'll be talking about how to become a Python developer. So guys, I'll be discussing everything related to a Python developer. Who is a Python developer? What are the various job roles available in the market? Who can become a Python developer? And then prerequisites and everything around, if you're looking to, make a career in Python. So I hope there is no confusion and let's move forward and have a look at the agenda for today. So this is what we'll be discussing today. We'll begin by understanding who is a Python developer and why one should even consider Python as a preferred programming language. Then the question is, how should I start? How should I go about becoming a Python developer? Then we'll focus on various job roles for a Python developer, and let me tell you that there are a lot of job roles out there, right? So if you think about Python, you have a lot of fields, a lot of domains that you can go in, right? Then a few projects for practice. You can just find it on the internet and it's available. And I believe the best way to learn anything is to start working on it. And you should start working on the project. So I'm going to give you a small introduction to a few of the projects that you can start with. Now, the question is, who is a Python developer? So let me tell you that, first of all, a Python developer does not, is a very subjective term, I would say. Why? Because, there are a lot of domains, there are a lot of different types of job roles available in Python, right? So when I say Python developer, does not necessarily mean I'm talking about a software engineer. Does not necessarily mean I'm talking about a web developer or a mobile app developer, right? So a Python developer is a very vast field. Something which doesn't exist, right? Because there are certain fields or subdomains in Python that you can, come up with a job role around that. That's what I mean, right? So, he can be a software developer, a software engineer. He can be developing web apps, mobile apps. He might be even into testing, right? Because you can use Python with Selenium. Then he can become a data analyst as well, or he can be a data scientist, machine learning engineer, artificial intelligence engineer. So there are different types of job roles available in the market. Next up, we are going to focus on why become a Python developer, because everything exists for a reason, right? And let's try to figure out why one should even consider Python as a programming language when you have Java, JavaScript, and other different programming languages. And the best answer given to this question is by Stack Overflow. So have a look at the graph, guys, right? I don't have to explain anything here because the red line, the red curve that you're seeing is of Python, right? So from 2012 till 2018, you can see that it's an exponential growth. Right, it's a straight line. I'm sorry, right? So yeah, it's growing pretty fast. And I would also tell you one thing, guys. It always makes sense to learn something when there's a demand. You cannot surf when there are no tides, right? So just to explain you that. Now Python comes with really cool features. So let me just talk about those features. First of all, it is very easy to learn. So all the people who are actually scared of coding, you don't have to be scared of Python. I'm being really honest, because it is very easy to write code in Python. The syntax is very easy, right? Then tons of libraries, guys. If you are talking about machine learning, web development, numeric computation, scientific computation, whatever comes to your mind, any type of application, Python gives you a very good library around that, whether it's computer vision, anything you can think of, right? So there are a lot of libraries available with Python that you can use for multiple purposes, right? Next is it is free and open source, that I think a lot of you might already know, right? And the best part is it has a very active community, guys, right? High demand, as I've just proved with the Stack Overflow graph. Apart from that, since Python is not only used for one particular domain or one particular purpose, so if you learn Python, you can go into any field, right? It's like, a typical Indian household, parents who tell their kids to go ahead and study engineering and then he can decide what he wants to do. Well, something similar, but this makes more sense, right? So these are the various features, guys, right? And few companies, few giants who are using Python. And let me tell you, guys, each and every company out there in the market nowadays use Python, right? I've written down few big names so that you can actually relate. Google, NASA, Firefox, YouTube, Netflix, Facebook, Dropbox, Raspberry Pi, IBM, Walt Disney, all of them are using Python and are very happy about the services and, basically whatever Python comes with, right? Next up, we are going to talk about salary trends. This is something that You can see it on your screen, but I would definitely tell you guys it is an average number, and generally a data scientist is not gonna earn 8 lakh per annum, 8 lakh rupees per annum. It will be definitely more than that. It's just an average. We have taken it from a pay scale. It is definitely more than that. I'm telling you that through my experience, right? And DevOps engineer also earns a lot more than what it is here. Apart from that, there is also a stat around the Python developer salary in popular cities, right? So we have San Francisco, which is paying somewhere around $137,389 to Python developers, which is pretty great if you ask me. And I am definitely sure it is way above than $150,000 in US as well, right? But for now, let's focus on how should I start, how to go about becoming a Python developer. Obviously, everything starts from basics, right? You have to understand the fundamentals to reach to a certain level. So first of all, install Python. Go ahead, type on Google, install Python, right? You'll go to their official website. You'll find lot of things out there. I can actually show you that. Let me just open it. So if you click on install Python, you'll be directed to this website. Download Python here. Just select the version, select the OS that you're using, and you are good to go, right? Choosing an IDE is, it varies from person to person. I prefer PyCharm. You can also download PyCharm. Let me just take you to one more link. Download PyCharm. You'll be directed to a JetBrains website. And here we go. So just go ahead, click on the community version because the professional version is, you have to pay some amount for that, right? So go ahead, click on the community version, download it, and it's very cool, guys, because it gives you autocomplete features and a lot of other benefits as well. You don't have to manually go and install the libraries using CMD. You can just go ahead, use PyCharm and do it, right? Choosing an IDE is done. A simple hello world program, right? So I've already installed Python. I have PyCharm. I'm just gonna show you how easy it is to write code in Python, right? So let me just quickly open my PyCharm, and all I'll do here is print hello world. Alright, I just have to click and select the interpreter as well. Let me just go to the settings. I'll just go to the interpreter. Just have to select the interpreter and we are good to go. Now let's go ahead and try executing again. It is again saying that you haven't selected an interpreter. I just did. That's weird. Let's see. Yep, I can see there is an interpreter. So just waiting 2 minutes to process. Let's just wait for that and we'll go back to our slides till then and we'll continue. So I'll tell you how to execute a simple hello world program. Just give me like 5 minutes. After that, let's see what we have next. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the basics. So obviously, as I've told you earlier as well, to become a Python developer, to become a data scientist, or to go to a level in your career, you have to start everything from basics, right? So we have we already talked about how you can install Python, how you can install Python IDE, which is PyCharm, right? And now let's talk about what are the basics that you actually need to learn. Now, people who are from a programming background can easily understand this, but people who are not, let's just focus on them. So variables and data types, you need to understand how to declare variables, how to, what are the different types of variables that we can declare. So there are numeric variables, there can be list, tuples, sets, dictionaries, all those data types you need to study. There is a separate tutorial on all of these. You can go ahead and check out that in the Python playlist. But for now, let's focus here what I'm talking about. Then we have functions, exceptions, and input-output operations. So how you input-output operations basically mean how you can open a file, how you can delete a file, how you can give an input to the programming language, right? If you want to input something, the user wants to input some variable value, right? So input-output operations, plus how to open, close files, delete files, add certain things, append certain things in a file. So all those things. Apart from that, exception handling, right? What about 1 by 0 if some term like that comes which has no answer, right? So how will you handle those exceptions? That will be covered in exception handling. There are functions which are nothing but useful code blocks, right? So that you don't have to again and again write the same thing, right? If you have, For example, if you want to calculate factorial 10 times in a program, you don't have to write the logic 10 times. You can write a function and execute it 10 times. Just an example, guys. Then loops, control statements, and conditional statements, which are very important, right? I am pretty sure you guys know what are loops, right? If you have a set of, if there's a logic that you want to repeat again and again and you have a condition defined, then you can go ahead and use loops for that, right? So there are different types of loop. There is a while loop, right? There's a for loop. So there are nested loops as well, where inside one loop you can define one more loop. Conditional statement, if, elif, if statement. So if a particular condition is true, execute this. If it is not, then execute the next statement. So those kind of things are called conditional statements. Data structures, then you have OOPS concepts. What OOPS concepts, basically, your polymorphism, encapsulation, classes, objects, how to declare them, what are global variables, all those things. It's basically a very vast field, OOPS, and it is very, very important. And Python is one of those programming languages which have object-oriented as well as procedural concepts, right? And file handling, I've just told you in the beginning itself how to open, close, delete, add, append, all those operations with a file, right? How you can do that with the help of Python, right? So now let me just go ahead, open my PyCharm and I'll execute that hello world program. So I think we can execute it now. Just a second, guys. It is just indexing right now. Or how about I go ahead and create one more Python file. Let us name it as test. And I'll type here print hello world. And here we go. Yep. So with one line of code, I can do this. Try doing that in Java. So guys, that was a very simple hello world program that I've written. There are separate tutorials I'm again and again telling you guys. Alright, so now let's talk about the job roles, which I'm pretty sure everyone is waiting for it, right? And just throw in all your doubts, guys. I hope Shubham is helping you there. Next, we have job roles, as I was mentioning. So there are software engineers and developers, right? So these people might be writing APIs for your web app, right? These people might be helping with mobile applications. These might be mobile application developer, web application developers, right? So basically who are or desktop GUI developers or game developers, all those people, right? So what sort of skills industries look for in such a profile, right? So core Python basics, right, which I've just mentioned at the beginning, where I was talking about data types, variables, functions, OOPS concepts, file handling, conditional statements, loops, control statements, all those things, right? Apart from that, you need to have basic knowledge about the web frameworks, right? Object relational mappers, RESTful APIs. You need to understand all these terms, guys. I cannot go into detail of all of these terms, but just to give you a knowledge, basically you need to understand how the web works. You should know the basics of web front end, back end, and you should be aware of libraries such as Django and Flask, which are very famous Python libraries for web application development, right? Database knowledge is a must, because where is your data anyway going after somebody does any sort of activity on a website? It will go to a database, right? So that database knowledge is very important for any developer out there in the market. When I talk about script writing, so scripting is a little bit different than programming, right? So scripting basically is, suppose I want to execute 7 programs sequentially, right? So what I can do is I can write a script that can execute those 7 programs in an order that I have defined, right? So it basically automates a lot of tasks, right? In this case, I can write a script that will automatically take my data and create a schema and store it in the database. So there are a lot of other things that you can do with a particular script, right? So just wanted to tell you the difference between scripting and programming, and I hope you have understood what you need to understand, what you need to learn, what are the skills required in order to become a developer, whether you are a web application developer or any sort of developer, right? So let's move forward, guys, and let's see what is the job role we are going to focus on next. So we're going to talk about a Python web developer, right? We just spoke about a web developer in the previous slide as well. So here it's all about understanding the web, HTML, CSS, Django, Flask, MVC, MVT architecture, model view controller, template. So these are all things that you need to understand, right? These are few things which you will know once you start going and researching in that particular field, right? Database knowledge, as I've told you, it is a must for any sort of developer, right? Script writing is also very important, because without scripting, guys, there's no automation, right? Any automation tool that you use now also uses script, right? So just to clear that doubt, scripting is also very, very important, right? Now let's see which job role we are going to focus on next. All right. So a data scientist, sexiest job of the 21st century, right? Now, what do you need to learn to become a data scientist? What skills are industries looking for in a data scientist? So you definitely require core skills, right? Core Python skills, which I've just discussed. Mathematics and statistics is the core, or you can say the foundation of a person who wants to become data scientist. That is very, very important. These fundamental topics are very, very important, guys, and people generally ignore them, right? So basics of programming, core Python skills, mathematics and statistics. Apart from that, you also require skills like, data visualization, data wrangling. You might have to clean the data before processing it, right? Then there's a skill called EDA, data exploratory data analysis, where you just look at the data, understand the data, what it is talking about, what should I predict, what I can't predict, which rows are useful for me, which columns are useless for me. Can I subtract a couple of columns and come up with a new column that might be more useful for me? So these are the things that, you should have that. It only comes with experience, and that's how it works. Apart from that, a very important skill is machine learning and artificial intelligence. So you need to be very, you need to understand all the machine learning algorithms. You need to understand where I can use which sort of a machine learning algorithm. And if you want, you might come up with a different algorithm as well. So how you can achieve that with Python? So with Python, there are a lot of libraries that you can work on. So there's a library called pandas, which is, for creating data frames. So you can import any sort of data with the help of pandas, whether it's a TSV file, CSV file, Excel file, doesn't matter. You can import that data. You can perform basic operations, joining, concatenation, merging, any sort of operation. Then you have NumPy, because Python does not support anything called arrays. There's nothing called arrays, right? So there are NumPy arrays that you need to create with the help of NumPy package, right? So any sort of matrix operation you can perform with the help of NumPy. Scikit-learn is a library used for machine learning. So it has predefined methods for different algorithms, whether it is KNN, K-means, all those algorithms. There are predefined functions or methods in this particular library that you can use. And very cool feature about this library is that it comes with sample data sets. So you can practice those data sets. You can practice those data sets the way you want. I mean, you're getting data sets, guys. You don't have to download it. What else do you want? Right. So let's move forward, guys. So now we're going to talk about data analyst, right? So data analyst is someone who understands data and who understand a lot of things, who understand the entire data lifecycle, who can take care of data wrangling, who can take care of data exploratory analysis, right? All those things, but they have only implemented simple linear regression models, right? They, are not aware of those complex algorithms or some neural networks or some complex machine learning algorithm which can be unsupervised, for example, K-means. So they build prediction models, simple regression models, sales forecasting and things like that. They are very good with data manipulation, and they have this skill which is very important, and it is called as data-driven problem-solving approach. So you need to understand, what sort of approach should I take for this particular data, and that only comes with experience, right? So that's how things work, because you cannot just apply one algorithm to all the data sets that are there in the market, right? You need to figure out what sort of a problem is it. Is it a clustering problem? Is it all those things. So basically, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but that's what a data analyst is, right? So let's see emerging job roles. So AI and ML engineer, artificial intelligence, or popularly also called as machine learning engineers. So these people are not bothered about data pre-processing. They get the good data. They get the data where they have to predict something. It might be a regression problem where they're predicting something. It might be a clustering problem where they might be clustering different people, right? It might be a classification problem where they are classifying whether the given input is X or Y, right? So that's what the major job role of machine learning engineer or an AI engineer is. So they require programming skills, data science skills, and machine learning, right? So that is what basically an AI ML engineer should have, right? Uh, Apart from that, neural networks is what people are talking about right now. It is a buzzword in the industry, and it takes machine learning to the next step, and it is called deep learning. I cannot go into detail here. I hope you guys can understand. But deep learning is very, very interesting, guys. And there are a lot of libraries that Python has for deep learning. One is TensorFlow, right? And it is given to us by Google. So I hope you guys trust Google, right? So, you know, it's a very good library, and I find it pretty interesting. I have separate tutorials on TensorFlow as well, right? I have worked on TensorFlow, so you can go ahead and check out my videos. Fine. Next is Python automation testing. So what is Python automation testing? Is basically, you know, you're using, okay, let's talk about Selenium because I can see only Selenium in the slide. So Selenium, you can write scripts in Python using Selenium, right? You can perform functional testing, basically, you know, testing login of any website, testing any feature, whether it's login, whether it's search engine, or any sort of feature, whether the link is clickable, the button is working, all sort of functional testing, or you can say user acceptance testing can be done with the help of Python in a very automated fashion. Next is a deep learning engineer. So deep learning engineer focuses mainly on neural networks. So he'll need to understand different types of neural networks. Whether it's a recurrent neural network, it can be a convolutional neural network, it can be RBM, autoencoders, you know, fully connected networks, or you know, single layer, multi-layer perceptrons. So they should be, they should have that thing where they can understand all of these different types of networks and have good experience in working on applications such as video processing, image processing, computer vision, you know, speech to text, text to speech, image recognition. So how do you think that the Facebook auto tag feature works, right? So it works with the help of deep learning only, right? Right. So that's how it is. Now comes the roadmap, guys. Okay. So I have, you know, I'll talk about each and every job role one by one. So how you can master core Python. So what you need to understand, you need to learn variables and data types, file handling, exception handling, oops concept, data structures, iterators, generators, right? So these type of things where basics of programming you need to understand, right? Then, well, let's talk about master web frameworks. So Django or Flask, whatever you prefer, right? tkinter is basically for GUI based web apps, right? Then we have MVC MVT architecture, that is basically model view controller and template that you need to understand. HTML CSS is a must for any web developer, guys, right? It's and there's no rocket science here. I think people should be aware about it, that web developers have to learn HTML CSS. Okay, just a second. Towards data science, if you want to go, statistics, applied math, data visualization, analysis, basically any sort of data manipulation, you need to understand that. On top of it, you need to understand machine learning. And you have, you know, Python libraries to make your life easy. Machine learning and artificial intelligence, you need to be very good with the machine learning algorithms, understand, you know, libraries like scikit-learn, TensorFlow, probability and statistics you should be very good with. Apart from that, neural networks and deep learning if you're looking to become a neural network deep learning engineer, right? So deep learning, again, there is a neural network architecture that you need to understand. So machine learning and deep learning, there's a very thin line here, but deep learning is nothing but an advanced machine learning, right? So don't get confused here. Both are the subsets of artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence is an umbrella term which encompasses machine learning and deep learning together. So I don't want you guys to be confused about it. I mean, it's very easy to understand machine learning. The next step after machine learning is deep learning, which uses neural networks. So it's nothing but advanced machine learning. And OpenCV for computer vision, web scraping with BS4 predictions, models, etc. is what you should be knowing. So OpenCV is basically a library which is used for computer vision. Again, I have a separate tutorial on OpenCV as well, so you guys can check that out. Apart from that, web scraping is nothing but scraping data or collecting data from different websites, web pages that you can easily do, right? And prediction models is I think you guys are already aware of now. So guys, there are a lot of certifications that Edureka provides here. So there's a Python programming certification course, Python certification for data science, right? So this Python programming certification course will talk about the basics of Python and really cool applications of Python, like developing web maps or developing a motion detector and things like that. Python certification training for data science will be covering the basics of Python. On top of that, we'll be covering all the concepts related to data science, machine learning and everything. Each and everything will be covered in detail with really cool projects in the end, guys. Python Django training and certification, again, it's for web development. Now there are projects for practice that I was talking about. Let me just quickly take you through that. So there are beginner projects, Hangman game with Python. Search it, you'll find a lot of things around that. Working with graphs in Python, right? So there are a lot of visualization libraries and interactive visuals that you can create with the help of Python. So there are libraries like Matplotlib, Seaborn, Bouquet, and different libraries that you can use here. Then web scraping using Python is basically scraping data from different websites. So I would suggest you go ahead, do one thing, scrape the data of top 250 movies from IMDb website. And for reference, you can watch our video that is on web scraping using Beautiful Soup. Image detection using OpenCV, right? So that is also a very good use case, and you can go ahead and try it out. So basically, it is called computer vision, where you give eyes to your computer, right? Sounds fancy. So there's a separate video on OpenCV as well. Go ahead, check out. Regression model using Python is again very easy at a beginner level project, where you'll be there's a regression line that will help you predict something, maybe sales, maybe anything, right? You can go ahead, predict anything that you want. So I hope this session was interesting and informative. Thank you guys, and have a great day.